Hello, welcome to Movement Not Miracles. I'm Anna from Eat Move Be Happy, and Movement Not Miracles is your bite-sized session to help you keep those joints mobile, avoid getting stiff and muscles stiffening up, joints stiffening up, which can lead to aches and pains. So keeping mobile, stretching through those muscles. It's movement, not miracles, so I can't promise it's going to solve everything. However, we do know that looking after our posture and looking after our joints does help reduce some of those niggly aches and pains that we can get. So a bit of an all-over mobility session today. So starting with our neck. So you can do these seated or standing. I'm going to do mine standing just to set myself up. So if you're standing, weight evenly distributed through the left and the right side. Exactly the same if you're sitting. Make sure you're sitting up nice and tall, away from the back of the chair, and you're sitting evenly on your bottom bones, not on the fleshy part of your bum. So sitting or standing nice and tall, weight evenly distributed, and to start off with, we're just going to look over one shoulder. So trying to keep everything else, think about shoulders being back and down, so we don't want to be tense or round shouldered and hunched over before we start. So think about some breadth across your collarbones, shoulders back and down, nice and light out of your pelvis, so you're not sort of sitting into your body, as it were. Is that not even a description? I hope you know what I mean. Standing or sitting nice and tall, and then we're just going to look over one shoulder. So we're not turning the whole body. Hips stay facing forwards, and without straining your eyes or straining your neck, turn your head as far as you can to look as far behind you as you can on one side, and then do the same on the other side. Actually, I can feel my shoulders tensing up because I'm doing this. So try and relax through your shoulders as you're doing this. We'll do this on one more on each side. Keep breathing. And then you're just going to let your head fall forwards, keeping everything else relaxed. Back to the centre, and then just look up. Apologies if you can see up my nose. And then once more down. And once more up. Just moving our neck deliberately can help release some of the tension in the muscles in the tops of our shoulders and into our neck, these muscles here. And we're going to continue on that vein now with a bit of a stretch for them. So if you reach down with one hand and away with your head so that you can feel this stretch down here. So stretching down, staying relaxed everywhere else, and then change to the other side. So we reach down first, and then you're not going to get much movement out of your neck, but you should feel a nice stretch down the side of your neck. And we'll do once more on the other side. We're not forcing any of these moves, so you shouldn't feel any pain in your neck when you're doing this. You might feel your muscles working, and that's okay. Okay, shoulders. So we're going for some movement with the shoulders. So to start off with, just check that your position, your starting position is right. So evenly balanced, sitting or standing tall. And then we're just going to roll those shoulders. Now this time I do want you to lift your shoulders up towards your ears and then take them back and down. So aiming for those shoulder blades really moving as much as they can on your back chest. So shoulders come up, and then as you squeeze, as you broaden across the front and squeeze your shoulder blades back, your shoulder blades should move around on your back. That's how your shoulders move. So we're aiming for as much movement as we can. Now let's make the movement a little bit bigger. So if we bring the elbows into it, so bring the elbows round, still concentrating on squeezing those shoulder blades, and then arms nice and straight. Ooh, a bit of a crunch and a crack there. If you do get a bit of a crunch and a crack in your joints, as long as there's no pain, you get a little bit of a sensation if the joint cracks, but as long as it doesn't continue and there is no pain, that's okay. But it shouldn't be doing it all of the time. And one more for fun. Back towards your ears. There we go, a bit of a tactical waggle of the shoulders. I'm going to aim for a bit of a stretch through the front of the shoulders now and the chest at the same time. So we're doing a mixture of mobility stuff and stretch stuff this morning, as you've probably gathered, or today I should say. So if you clasp your hands behind your back and let them rest just in the small of your back, and then get your shoulders set up, so back and down, and then really squeeze your shoulder blades together without letting that happen. So we don't want belly sticking out and backs arching. So think of your tummy muscles should be contracting to keep this part, your middle and lower back, stable. And you should be working through the bones in your bottom, the muscles in your bottom, to keep your hips stable. So we want everything else to stay stable. We don't want the back arching and the belly sticking out. We want the movement to come from the shoulder blades, and so we can stretch across the front of our shoulders and our chest. And whilst you're working on increasing that movement through the shoulder blades, really pinching them together, don't forget to keep breathing, and also think of those shoulders back and down, and really increase the stretch across your chest and the front of your shoulders. Okay, another bit of a tactical waggle. I think Martha wants to get out, see if she settles. I might have to let her out in a second. So now we're going to move on to some movement through the spine. I'm going to start with twists. So again, sitting nice and tall. We're aiming for some movement through our upper back. So we're going to try and keep the lower back as still as possible. So our vertebrae should be mobile. They shouldn't move loads, but they should move. So keeping as much mobility in them as you can, assuming that it doesn't cause you pain, is good. If it does cause you pain, it's probably worth getting that checked out. But we're just going to twist nice and gently to start off with, from side to side, keeping your hips pointing forwards. So we're aiming, we're concentrating on sort of from there up, that upper thoracic region, which is usually the bit that we find harder to keep mobile. So as you do a few, you might find that, okay, I can see if I can get a little bit more movement now. So think of bringing those shoulders round so the whole chest turns. We're not just moving our arms, we're aiming for the whole back to turn. And we're going for movement rather than a hold. You can twist and hold, that's absolutely fine. It's a bit more of a stretch. But we're going for movement today, just to see if we can encourage our upper back to move a little bit more. You can mix and match mobility and stretch work. Now we're going to work on a little bit lower down our spine, and we're going to work through a side bend. So some bendianas, quite like that name actually. So we're going to reach, now for me, I just like to widen my stance a little. It just means I can get a little bit more movement through my back. So I'm going to reach down with one hand and then with the other. I'm staying in an upright plane, so we're not going to bend forwards and reach down. I'll show you from the side. It's not this, it's this. So everything is staying in that upright position and just bending to the side. And again, just as we did with the twists, we're going for mobility rather than a stretch. So we're going to, I think, of sticking that hip out one way. You hear Martha? And then down the other side. You see, if I'd have let Martha out before we started all of this, she'd have wanted to come back in. So I can't actually win. And then we are going to introduce a little bit of a stretch by stretching the arm up and over as we reach down with the other arm. So now we're going to get a nice stretch down the side. I think that's probably one of the reasons I like this one, because you get some movement and some stretch. Reach up and then reach over. And one more on this side. Okay, and finally hips, and again we're going to go for mobility. If we sit for a long period of time, and most of us sit for a long time during the day, then our hips tend to be fastened in that position. So the muscles at the front of our hips, our hip flexors, shorten. They get really tight, which means the rest of our hip, the hip joint, doesn't move as much because these are pulling it back. So our hip should move. It's their ball and socket joint. So like the shoulders, it should move through a full range of motion. And yet, if we sit in that position all of the time, it isn't going to. So we're just going to do some movement stuff for our hip to encourage our hip joints to move. So if you're seated, you won't need to worry about your balance, but if you're standing, you might want to just have some support close by, because we're going to transfer our weight onto one foot, that knee slightly bent, and then either hands over your knee or under your knee if your knee joint is a little bit sore, and pull that knee into the chest. Now your chest stays upright, and think about your shoulders back and down, so we don't want this to happen. Shoulders back and down, and your knee up towards your chest as much as you can. So that's going to be some work through your ankle of that supporting leg, because it's having to wobble to keep you stable. So that's good work for your Achilles. And you may as well get some movement through the ankle of that other leg by just rotating your foot. Keeping that knee pulled up. So you might feel a bit of a stretch down the back of your leg, but you're also encouraging that hip to move beyond that position. So again, transfer your weight over to your supporting leg. That knee is slightly bent, so you've got like a little bit of a spring so that you can wobble to keep your balance. Use support if you need to. Knee up to chest, but chest up. Shoulders back and down, nice and relaxed. And then, a bit of a clunk in the ankle. It's easy to forget about ankles, wrists, and also hips moving up in this position because we're so used to just sitting. So encouraging the joint. It's almost like reminding it that it can move in this way. So, and then another really simple, it's a good old netball warm-up move. So if you lift your knee up, take your leg out to the side and then back and down. And again, you can use support if you need to. It's just encouraging that hip to move through its full range, and you can do it the other way. So back, up, around, And although it might look a little bit strange, and you can use support if you need to, just encouraging your hips to wake up. You can do these wherever. So if you're working from home, there is no excuse. Oops, a little bit of a wobble there. Up, back and down, I forgot what I was doing. But you can do them when you're waiting for the kettle to boil. And just encourage your hips to remind themselves that they can move through a full range of motion. Okay, so bit of a mobility session today. Hopefully your body feels a little bit more awake. I'm certainly a bit more aware of my hips and my shoulders than I was when we started. And you can do all of these, you can do some of these, you can mix and match them. Doing something throughout the day is better than doing nothing. So if you catch yourself just sitting in the chair, even sit away from the edge of from the back of the chair, sit tall and do some shoulder rolls. So just look after your posture, keep those joints moving and ward off those aches and pains. Don't forget as well, check out the website www.eatmovebehappy.com. We have lots of different online coaching programs. We're very excited about a new exercise class that we are launching very soon called Move Better, where you can work along with us virtually at the moment. So to help you develop your strength, build your strength and build your fitness in a group safe environment. And we'll give you some coaching around your exercise habits as well. So do check out the website www.eatmovebehappy.com, and I will see you tomorrow.